What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great day or night whenever you're watching this. We're going to talk about some more Detroit Pistons basketball because it's the most relevant thing in Detroit right now, and they're amazing. They're so much fun to watch. This whole trajectory, it's honestly my favorite, up-and-coming team this season. They are the most, they're the most surprising team as a whole. And they just have so much good stuff coming to them to where they've been so bad for so long. To see them finally get to this point where they're good again, so nice. Because I grew up right in the Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Ben Wallace Pistons era, where they were conference finals every single year, champions one year. They're a team that I really can't wait to see get back into those conversations again. And right now, we're looking at them as the 6th seed, right? They're more than likely not going to fall to 7 because they've got like a 5.5 game lead on the 7 seed Hawks right now. We might get a first round playoff series with either them and the Knicks, which Detroit and New York, that's a high profile series. Or we might get, because they're only a half game back of the Bucks right now, we could get a series where realistically it's the Pistons and the Pacers. And if you know anything about Pistons and Pacers history, they like to throw down. So I would love to see that as a playoff series. Cade Cunningham has just evolved into this star player that everybody hoped he could be. And he's been awesome. Hits the game winner a few nights ago against, I think it was the Heat. He's so much fun to watch. He has such a good control of the game. And then you have guys all around him that are just, they're doing different things. Like Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren complement each other by doing opposite things. Isaiah Stewart could very well be an all-NBA defensive level player this season. He's kind of the nastiness of that team. The physicality that he brings is nice. Duren's more of the monster on the boards kind of thing, and I like what both of them supply. They both do things a little bit differently and add value to the team as a result. I would like to see how this team looks with Jaden Ivey when he comes back from an injury next year. Because we're forgetting that he's one of those guys that was a core piece. They remind me, ironically, a lot of last year's Pacers, who get on a heater and are playing, it's completely different brands of basketball, where the Pacers were just offense. But a guy like Benedict Mathurin goes down last season, and the Pacers basically have to play without him for most of it. And to me, Mathurin and Ivy have very similar skill sets in terms of being score-first guards. So I would like to see how this kind of turns out. They remind me a lot just because of those two very specific scenarios and being the up-and-coming team that kind of surprises people with the star point guard that people kind of doubted for a minute. But yeah, that series would be so nice with the Pacers and Pistons if we get it. But the Pistons being this good again is so much fun because we've got guys like Malik Beasley that are just scorching off the bench. Just everybody's got a role on the Pistons. And when's the last time that we had a Pistons team that was good and everybody had a role? Everybody's got a specific skill set that they have to apply night in and night out. And it feels like they have a lot of ways to win games. They can shoot a little bit now. They can definitely knock down some threes. They can destroy you in the paint a little bit. They play defense really well. I think if we look at them, I know they're in the top half of the league for defense, but in the East, the Cavs have a better defense. The Celtics do, and then I think the Bucks do a little bit, and maybe the Knicks. So 4 of the teams ahead of them, right? Because defense does get you a long way in the NBA, especially if you actually try on that end. 4 teams ahead of them are better on defense, and then I think it's like the Magic and the Heat are the only ones else that are statistically better on defense. But those teams are also not as good offensively right now. So there's give and take to everything. But they can lay their hard hat on defense if they need to. They can go out there, they could score if they need to. They can light it up from 3. They obviously have a star in Cade. And then you have the guys around him like Duren, like Isaiah Stewart, even freaking Tobias Harris. They've got a lot of good things. Tim Hardaway Jr. could come in and give you 14 points and a half and blow a game open a little bit. Such a good thing going on in Detroit right now. And they're definitely the most fun team to talk about this season because of all of this. Coaching has been awesome for them. JB Bickerstaff, he may not be a championship coach, at least to this point in his career, but man, does he raise your floor. It feels like any team he coaches is at least solid. at least decent and competitive and can win, 4 out of 7 games. Put it that way. They can win a playoff series. They're one of those teams that, given how young they are, ironically, so they remind me a lot of the Pacers because of the Bennett Mather and Jaden Ivey kind of comparison. They also remind me a lot of the Magic from last year, too, where we get this star that blows up, like Paolo Banchero becomes that guy. Cade becoming that guy. And also being really good defensively. They have an identity. They're that up-and-coming, young, hungry team. They remind me a lot of each other to where they're ahead of schedule, I would say. They really do strike me as a team that's ahead of schedule and is going to be able to make some things happen over the next few years because it does look like management has kind of figured out the mold of what they want to do. I think getting the coach right was super important because you see so many times with these young teams, they get a coach that doesn't know how to relate, that doesn't know how to coach them and teach them and lead them. JB Bickerstaff's done a great job with that. Now we've seen sometimes his teams might have a capacity, might have a ceiling on them. But when you get a team like this, they just needed somebody to elevate the floor so that way they could get up and play as a unit and be. They're a very bonded team. You have guys saying that like they're off games, they're playing video games together, or off nights they're playing video games together. The team is hanging out. That camaraderie really hard to replace. And I think we're starting to see like that Pistons fan base start to show out more and more and more. And while I think they're like 19-16 at home, they're 21-16 on the road, and they're playing just good across the board. They're not insanely great at anything, but they're not bad at anything either. They're one of those teams that you can't really ever put away. And like the game against the Pelicans a few nights ago where they just demolished them. And I know Zion didn't play and stuff, but still. You only play who's in front of you, and they do a good job with this. Like the last 10 games, they're 5-5. It's not special, it's not crazy, but it's keeping them afloat in a tight race. Because you've got, the Bucks are 4-6, Pacers are 7-3, and the Knicks, who are even further up, are 4-6 over the last 10. So they're staying with the pack. They're not falling behind like they would have in years past. But yeah, normally I ask a question like, what do you think about the Pistons and stuff like that? But in reality, I think a lot of people are going to get put on as this playoffs come along, because to me, this season's already a success. This is already a smash success. Whatever happens in the playoffs is gravy. You got there. That's usually step one in trying to be good again, is make the playoffs. Like, just get there first, and then we can talk about winning and things like that. Get the experience. That's going to be super important because it is such a young team, and you're going to have Cade Cunningham's first ever playoff experience, and he could be damn good in that. Like, we've seen him be able to light some teams up. I like what they got. I'm really happy to see their growth. Yeah, like I said, normally I would have like a question for you, but just watch Detroit Pistons basketball. I'm looking ahead to the playoffs, and I'm looking down at my phone right here because that's where I have the standings and everything. Them getting either the Knicks, Pacers, or Bucks in a playoff series, cinema. I can't wait to watch it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you like this kind of content. Please like the video. If you haven't paid enough attention to Detroit Pistons basketball, you still have time. Watch them before the playoffs start. Watch them when the playoffs start. I can't wait to see how this young team develops. But I'm done. Peace.